besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyan and this is Kyan is Booked. And today we have a very special announcement. I have been trying to think about how to introduce crafting into my channel without making like number one, a separate channel, and then number two, changing it from books to crafting because that's not what I want to do, right? So I was like, okay, well, I listen to audiobooks while I craft, so I can do like one big giant like time-lapse vlog style video. So welcome to the first episodes of audiobooks and diamond painting. Today, well, actually in this clip right here, I'm just going to introduce to you what I'm working on. And I'm basically going to see how many audiobooks it'll take for me to like finish this one, because I've had this one going for more months than I care to admit. It's actually one of like the glass instrument pieces that I'm working on that's eventually going to hang on the wall over here next to my bookshelf. So without further ado, I don't even know if I can get this in frame. So we'll see. All right. So here we go. I'll hold it up like this. All right, so this is what I'm working on currently. And you'll see everything that isn't sectioned off, I already have diamonds. So if you're looking at this on this side over here, the section right in here, that is all covered in diamonds already. And I'll get really close here. So those are already done in diamonds. And then basically these sections right here, I still have to work on. So this is kind of like a little bit of like a chaotic introduction video. When I'm actually working on the piece, like you'll get like a way better, why am I like this? You'll get like a way better view of it. So, and then so that's the picture that I'm working on. So it's called Storm Inside by Yumi Art, and it is round diamonds, and cause like you can tell by the branding that it's round. So round diamonds. It is 20 by 30 or 50.7 centimeters by 76 centimeters. It is by Diamond Art Club. I'll link them below. It's pretty much where I get all of my kits except for my Jaded Gem Shop kits. Wow. Anyway, except for those kits, and I obviously get them at Jaded Gem Shop. So those would be like the Pharaoh one I did and the Nesta one I did. Maybe I'll do like a little tour of them. So what are we going to be seeing in this? I'm glad you asked. So basically what we're going to do is I've got 15 seconds. I have 15 sections left on this diamond painting, and we're going to see, I'm going to listen to audiobooks, and I'm going to see how many audiobooks I can get through as I finish the rest of this diamond painting. And then when I finish them, like the audiobooks, I'll like stop the time lapse and I'll talk about the audiobook, like I was gonna rate it, like what I read, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and then I'll tell you the next audiobook that I'm going to be starting. So my plan is, if I can get everything like set up in my crafting area, because I have like an overhead light, if I can angle it the right way, I'm going to do a time lapse of me finishing the rest of this diamond painting. So welcome to the new series. Welcome to the vlog. I am actually reading a Catherine Cowles while I'm listening on Audible to the Catherine Cowles. I don't have the name of it right now in front of me, but when you see me again or you see the painting, I will like just voiceover wise tell you what audiobook I'm listening to. And yeah, so I'm gonna go carry this thing back into my crafting area and then try and get it all set up so I can maybe start the time lapse tonight. So welcome to the new series. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy I get to share a new craft with you. Well, maybe not a new craft for you, but like just a craft in general, because I really do love listening to audiobooks and like working on DIY projects or like crafts. So I wanted kind of a series where I could feature that. And I could also talk about audiobooks because I think audiobooks are super cool. So enough ranting. I know you're here for the vlog and here for the time lapse. So let's get into it. the first book that I'm going to review for this audiobooks and diamond painting series is going to be Fractured Sky, which is book number 5 in the Tattered and Torn series by Cowles. And I'll put the graphic up here that includes the narrators for this audiobook because I'm filming on my phone right now, so I can't go back and scroll, and I didn't write it down. Kiss of death. Anyways, this was a highly, highly anticipated book for me because I've been binging the Tattered and Torn series, and obviously, like, we meet Shiloh literally in book 1, like, first page. We start to understand, like, the intricacies of her struggle. So for those of you who don't know, Shiloh was kidnapped by our heroine in book 1's father. And our heroine in book 1 is actually the one who turned her father in, right? And the hero in book 1 is Shiloh's older brother. So we have this, like, you know, this meeting of a really horrific thing happening, like this young girl being a hero and essentially, like, saving Shiloh's life, and then meeting back as, like, you know, adults in adulthood and kind of what that looks like. I've wanted Shiloh's story because, like, I desperately wanted her to have her happily ever after, because she's already fought through so much in life, and she's already, like, broken barriers, like, literally survived a kidnapping where she was chained to a wall in a shed, and she's come back from all of that, and she's, like, made the best of it, right? However, she feels like she's very much still in I think, like, a fishbowl. Like, her mom's always waiting for something bad to happen, and she hovers, and, like, she doesn't feel useful, I think, is, like, the best way to, like, in the way that she expresses it in the story, is, like, she just doesn't feel useful. She feels like everybody walks around on eggshells with her, and she wants to be able to live her life. Then enters Ramsey, and we do meet Ramsey in a previous book. So we have some, like, kind of background knowledge, but we also know as the reader that she's been sneaking off to Ramsey's farm for, like, 9 years, right? They've never spoken before. They've had no interaction. There's been no type of, like, relationship between them other than the fact that, like, she goes to his farm because she feels safe there, and she feels like it's an escape from living with her parents on their farm and having them kind of control everything. So she shows up at Ramsey's farm one day, and she just basically unloads on this man. And she's like, I just feel like everybody walks around on eggshells on me. I don't feel like I am doing anything in life. Like, it all feels pointless. Like, I survived this kidnapping for what? To be, like, a prisoner at my parents' house and all of this. And, like, Ramsey does a really good job. Like, he's a man of few words, right? And he does, like, a really excellent job of just sitting there and, like, really listening to her concerns. And he's like, well, like, why don't you move here? Like, you feel safe here, right? And she goes, well, yeah, because she's talking about wanting an apartment, but how is she going to do that if she's going to someplace and she doesn't feel safe in that apartment, right? Because, like, that fear is still there. So she wants to feel safe, but she wants it to be in a place that her parents don't have, like, unfiltered access to her, right? So Ramsey's like, so why don't you move in here? Like, I have a guest cabin. You're welcome to it. You can work on my ranch. Like, I'll pay you a salary if you want. Or you could just live here and figure out what you want to do next. Like, figure out what makes you happy. Figure out what you want to do in life. And she's like, well, I don't want to impose. And he's like, and it's really funny too, because you kind of see it from his perspective, and in his head, he's like, I don't even know why I'm offering it to this girl, but he's saying, like, no, please move in with me. So then everything kind of escalates really quickly from there, and she moves into the guest cabin, and there's some drama that causes him to have to increase security, and there's some break-ins on his ranch. But, like, we know as the reader that Ramsey's been through a lot in his life as well, and he has his own trauma and his own reasons for living in complete solitude with a complete security system on a ranch, like, in the middle of nowhere, essentially. And he works with horses that have been abused, who struggle to trust humans again, and helps them, like, reintegrate, and helps them, like, build that trust back with a human counterpart. So he kind of, like, approaches Shiloh like how he would approach a horse that's hurt, and, like, lets her take things, like, at her speed. And I think there's a small part of Shiloh that's, like, always been very interested in Ramsey, because he's, like, broody and secretive and lives on his own and is, like, a little bit older than her. And I just really appreciated that Catherine, like, let their relationship build in a way that was just very genuine to them, right? So it was, like, genuine to who they were as a couple. So like it really built as a friendship, and Ramsey tried so hard not to be attracted to her, tried so hard not to want her. But in the end, like he couldn't hold back anymore because he just had such a strong attraction to her. I will say as well that Catherine Cowles does an amazing job of picking narrators for her audiobooks. I've listened to the majority of her backlist, and I have never once stopped an audiobook because I couldn't see, like, the voice didn't match up with the character. I have hands down, like, really believe that she is one of the best audiobook narrator choosers. I don't know, casters. I'm not sure what to say about it. But the two narrators for this one were amazing as Ramsey and Shiloh. I thought that it was really just exactly how I pictured their voices in my head, if that makes sense. And I really enjoyed listening to them. Even sometimes too, like I struggle when the girl has to be the guy voice and the guy has to be the girl voice. But I think they did a really good job of balancing that when they were reading those roles. So it was just, and it was such a vivid experience too with the audio narrators that like I really could envision this like movie happening while I was diamond painting, and this like these beautiful sceneries and these woman who's trying to heal and this man who's trying to heal right along with her, and like what that looks like for the two of them together. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And this is a 5-star audio, obviously 5-star book. Arguably one of my favorite of Catherine Cowles because it was just so beautiful, like truly honest to God beautiful, in the way that like this couple came together, and with the way that like Catherine put that bow on the end of the series. Like I thought it was just, she did Shiloh and Ramsey justice, and I just adored the story. So it was wonderful to listen to while I was diamond painting. So wonderful that I was like, oh my gosh, let me jump into Whispers of You, which is the start of the series that she's currently writing. And in the next clip, I'll tell you about that one, because as of right now, like I finished it. But the clip that I filmed really was just like a genuine how I felt about it. So if you haven't read the series, if you haven't picked up a Catherine Cowles audiobook, highly recommend it. She does a superb job of choosing who narrates her characters, and they do an amazing job bringing everything to life. So 5 stars for my baby Shiloh and Ramsey. Book that I that I listened to, the next audiobook I listened to was another Catherine Cowles. So I listened to Whispers of You, which is Holt and Wren's story. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, I don't think I was emotionally ready for this story. Like I always kind of go into Catherine Cowles books like knowing that they're gonna be emotional, and like knowing that I need to be prepared for it. But there was just something about this one, like the prologue got me, and I just literally, I listened to it on 1.5 speed. So I sat there for 6 hours and diamond painted so that I could finish the audiobook. Like that's how bought into it I was, because like Holt and Wren were high school sweethearts. There's some people in town who feel like they've been bullied and basically went around town and just like shot people. Shot people that they felt like had wronged them, like their science teacher for giving them like D's, even though they're in the D's. And then it came for Wren, and it should have been Wren and Holt, but Holt was late to the house and it was just Wren, and he ran in and she's like bleeding out, right? So then 10 years later, he left, he ran away. He told Wren that like she deserved better and that he couldn't do this anymore. And he ran away, he joined the Marines, went into like special forces at some point, started his own security company, and she's just at home. Like she became a dispatcher because she wanted to be the voice on the other end of the phone. if somebody were to need that voice, just like she needed a voice on that day. And so he comes back because he knows he has to face what he ran away from, right? And at this point in time, everybody, like, this is a part where we start to bash the hero, right? And we're just like, oh man, we can't believe he left. Like, he should have blah, 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 blah. But nobody could say anything about Holt that he hadn't already said about himself. Like, he literally was just like, listen, like, I know I'm not good enough. I know I'll never be good enough. Like, I left because I wanted her to have the opportunity to find somebody who was good enough for her, because I wasn't, because I was late and she almost died. And this is a massive weight for someone to be 18 years of age to carry around. And like, obviously nobody blamed him, but he blamed himself. But he never talked to anybody about it. Like, he just would come like for a day and then he would leave again. And he ran around the world trying to find answers to the problem. And like, the problem was at home. And Ren has been in love with him for 10 years. And she's like, I'll probably never stop loving him, but I have to find a way to move on because I can't keep doing this to myself. And it was just so heart-wrenching, because all of a sudden shootings started happening again, and the people who had survived, right? The people who had survived started to become victims again. And Ren always thought that there was like a third shooter because they only caught 2 people. And the 2 people always said like, no, there's not a third, there's not a third, and there's not a third. But Ren was always like convinced that there was a third. And obviously these things start happening again. And a lot of suspicion happens, a lot of trauma gets pulled up, and it was just like a beautiful yet tragic love story of 2 people finding their way back to each other. I don't begrudge either of them, because, you know, like I said, this is the part where we would bash the hero, but if I was 18 years old and the person I was in love with was shot and I was late, I can't tell you that I wouldn't have made like the same assumption, or I wouldn't have taken on something that like wasn't mine to take on, because like anybody knows at that point in time that like it's not Holt's responsibility that she was shot. Like, it's the people who did the shooting, but he couldn't see past his own viewpoint. And that was what was the biggest issue in all of this. So once they finally got talking, once he finally started confronting the past, like, I mean, he literally was just like, I've never stopped loving you. Like, I've always loved you. I just thought you deserved better than me. And she's like, is that my choice? And he's like, well, I hear what you're saying, and you should give me another opportunity. And she's like, I just don't know if I'd be able to. So it was just like this really like natural back and forth of like, they're both in love with each other. And Holt's like, no, like, I'm here to say, I promise I'm here to say, like, I want to be with you. Like, I love you. And she's just stuck because she's like, what if he leaves me again? I don't know if I don't know if I can go through that again. And then obviously like the plot of like the suspense and who it ends up being makes a lot of sense. It was wild though. I was like, like I gasped because, you know, like I'm listening to it. And like also too, if you don't know, now you do, Catherine Cowles picks amazing narrators. So every audiobook I've ever listened to has been like just so good when it comes to like the narration of the voices, and they're always dual narrated, so you have a female for the female and a male for the male. And so I always love listening to it because it really is kind of just like a live action, almost like a movie happening in my head as I'm working on my diamond painting. So Whispers of You is a 5-star. Like, I was just shooketh from the very beginning. And I like have a feeling that I think it's a Lost and Found series. I could totally be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's Lost and Found series. Book 5 comes out soon. But I'm just like, I just don't know if I'm emotionally ready to like dive into the rest of the books, because I'm pretty sure like we've been teased about who's gonna be the next couple of them, but like I'm just not sure that I'm emotionally ready for this series, because I hear it really like gets you in the heart. So that's Whispers of You. I had a really great time with it. Like I said, like I diamond painted the 6 hours straight because I wanted to hear the end of it, and I wasn't letting myself listen to the audiobook outside of diamond painting because I really did want to get the painting done before 2023. I don't know when this video is going to go up. I think I'm going to have it go up like before 2023 so that the finish ends up, but today's the 28th. I guess I posted tomorrow. But there's a couple of videos I'm trying to get up before 2023 is over because I don't want to like carry it into 2024. It's just all in my mind. But anyways, Whispers of You, I cannot recommend it enough. I really can't. But you just have to be ready for some emotional moments. Okay, and the last one I read that actually rounded out this painting for me is Naked in Death by J.D. Robb. And I feel like I could talk about this series without even having to look anything up. But I read Naked in Death like back in 2023. And a little bit of background on the story. Why did I say 2023? I meant 2020 because this is 2023. Anyway. I read Naked in Death, the first book in the In Death series, back in 2020. I don't even remember how I discovered it, how I came across it, but I was really intrigued by it because Naked in Death was published in 1995. And the author is J.D. Robb. However, that is a pen name for Nora Roberts. So every single year since 1995, she's released 2 books in the In Death series. Sometimes she's also released a novella, so like 2.5. And I want to say like we're at like 62, 63 at this point. And like the series is still ongoing today. And I'm all caught up at this point, right? But I did receive, if you watched my Christmas haul, which I'll link it if I remember. If you watched my Christmas haul, then you know I got like a bunch of mass market paperbacks of the In Death series because I do collect the mass market paperbacks of each of the books. So I got some for Christmas and I was like, maybe I should start the series over again. And of course, like my mom looked at me like I was crazy because there's 60 books. But what I really like about the In Death series is it just feels like, it's like a comfort series for me. So after I get done binging a series, after I get done reading a standalone, if I feel like I'm about to go into a slump, if I really just don't know what I want to read next, like I just pick up the next book in the In Death series, right? And I've been waiting to read Payback in Death, which is the one that was released in September, because since 2020, my first read of the year has always been an In Death book, right? So I was like, oh, I don't want to break that trend, and I really want it to be the new one. So I was like, you know what? I'll just go back to the beginning. So to end off the diamond painting, the first episode of Audiobooks and Diamond Painting, I listened to Naked in Death, which was the first book. And I will say Susan Erickson is the person who is an audio narrator. She's done every single book, including novellas. She does an amazing job. She has voices for all the characters, all the secondary characters, fits them perfectly. There's always a distinction between who's talking. There's always a distinction between the characters, which is what I really love because this series as a whole has a really strong secondary character cast, like really strong. It's one of my favorite secondary character cast series out there. So you're probably like, okay, good, like cool, like you've spent 3 minutes talking about this series. Yeah, and in 2024, I'm gonna spend a whole lot of time talking about it because I just really haven't talked about how amazing this series is. But I digress. Naked in Death is the first book in the series. This is when Eve, who is our NYPSD homicide detective, she's a detective at that point, homicide detective, meets the billionaire that is Rorik, and they strike up this weird relationship type thing that she can't figure out while he's a suspect in a murder case. Now, has she ruled him out? Yeah. Is she about 100% positive that he's not the perpetrator? Yeah. Does she still have to interview him and it really pisses him off? Absolutely. What I like about Rorik and what I will say about the series every single time, and I've put it in numerous reviews and I've put it every time I post about the series on my Instagram feed, anytime I talk about it, is Eve is who she is. And she's brusque. She doesn't have like a whole lot of friends because of childhood trauma, and we're just gonna put it like that. But the people she lets close, like she's loyal to, she's a workaholic because her job has always defined her because of her childhood. Throwing herself into her chosen career has always defined her, and that's what's most important to her, especially getting justice for people who are being murdered. So like she is a lot of things. Like she's stubborn, she is just an average everyday person. She's just has like a little bit of an attitude, like she's sassy, like she likes things her way. She processes things quietly into herself because it's always just been her, right? And then here comes Rorik. He knocks the door in and was like, no, like there's something about you that intrigues me. Like I need more from you. Like I need more from you. Like I care for you, blah, like all this stuff, right? And this man is like absolute trash for her, is absolute goner before they even do it. And the first time they do, could have burned the bed down. This man is so hot, and he never stops being hot. And he's literally a billionaire a couple times over, owns half of the world, and is coveted, and any woman would want to be with him. And Eve's just like, yeah, anyways, I have a murder to catch. And he's like, she's so intriguing. And she brushes him off and like ignores him and like does whatever she wants to do, and he just can't get enough of it, right? So the crime is a licensed companion, which would be a prostitute nowadays, because this is set in 2058, so it's a little bit in the future, which is also something I really like too, because it really gives you maybe like an idea of what people thought it was gonna be like in the future. I don't really know. So it is set in 2058, and a licensed companion, which prostitution is illegal as long as you're licensed, is found murdered in her bed. She is the granddaughter of a United States senator, so obviously it's a big deal. Then like a week later, another one is found, and a week after that. So like the murders are filmed, they're sent to the police, no trace evidence or anything's left behind. Guns have been outlawed at this point, so like you can have a gun in like your collection, but like it's highly illegal, and they're like, most of them have been destroyed at this point. So like if you're purchasing a gun to have like in your antique collection, is how they refer to it, if you're a collector, you're not using it to like go out and hunt or anything like that. Like you're just using it, like you're just putting it in a display case and being like, oh yeah, I have that one. So they use stunners, which I think in my mind would just be like high powered tasers. The stunner, depending on where it hits you, like it could stop your heart. So that was an interesting concept, because like to have access to a weapon, like to have access to a gun, is almost unheard of. So Eve's like, interesting. So obviously Rorik's name gets brought up because like he has connections to the family. Like at first she thinks, okay, yeah, it could be him. And then she's like, no, like none of it makes sense. So there's a lot of back and forth, and like he really pursues her, and then like by the end of it, like she somehow found her way into a relationship with him. And it's really funny to just watch her like try and navigate what it's like to have like somebody else care about you, because she's used to being on her own. She's used to being like, I just take care of me, and like that's just how it's always been. And he's like, no, but like I want to be a part of that now. Like I don't want you to change. I don't want you to be any different than who you are. I just like, I want you to start letting me in. I want you to start trusting me. And she's like, anyway, so she's warming up to the idea. But yeah, so that's Naked in Death. Like obviously Eve is trying to hunt down a murderer and meeting her man for the very first time. And it's not a spoiler to say that they end up together, because like if you like happen to pull up like book 30 and you look at it, like Rorik's still there. Like, so it's not a spoiler that they're together, because it's like the next installment in even Rorik's story, like any type of advertisement has the fact that they're together and they end up married. So obviously 5 stars, because I rated it 5 stars the first time I read it, and the re-listen didn't change my mind. In fact, I forgot a good portion of this book. So like it was almost like, I want to say rereading it again for the first time, but 50 plus books in this series. And I was like, wait, who did it? And the person who ended up doing it, woo! That's all I'm going to say. So that closes out. This will be the third one that I talk about. So like that closes out the audiobooks I listened to in this episode. I hope you enjoy it. I'm actually really excited about this series. I am making it a series. And it's not always just going to be like time lapses and stuff like that. Like I'm also going to do videos of like me getting my kit ready, or like me just like checkerboarding a section. Like, you know, I'm going to try and switch it up, but there's always going to be some level of a time lapse, because I think it's really cool to kind of see like the completion of a project.